The snowflakes danced lazily under the street lamps, blanketing the city in a hush of white that muffled the distant hum of traffic. The air was sharp with the promise of winter, carrying faint traces of cinnamon from a nearby bakery's holiday display. A polished silver SUV pulled up to the sidewalk, its engine purring softly before falling silent. Alexander emerged first, his broad shoulders cutting a commanding figure in a wool overcoat that whispered of boardrooms and quiet power. At his side, bundled in a puffy red jacket, was his daughter Emma, her dark braids peeking from beneath a fur-lined hood. She clutched a stuffed fox in one mittened hand, her steps light and uneven as they ventured into the evening chill. Alexander's stride was honed by years of navigating high-stakes negotiations and the relentless pace of his tech empire. Emma was a whirlwind of wonder, her gaze darting to every snow-dusted lamppost and frosted window. She paused abruptly, her small boots sinking into the fresh powder, and tugged at his sleeve. "Papa," she said, her voice a soft puff of vapor in the cold. He glanced down, anticipating a question about the falling snow or the lights twinkling in the shops ahead. But her finger pointed across the avenue toward the shadowed edge of a small plaza. Why is she sitting there all alone with the little boy? Alexander followed her gaze beneath the dim halo of a snow-capped streetlight, a young woman perched on the corner of a stone ledge, her knees drawn up as she rocked gently side to side. She couldn't have been older than 20, her chestnut hair matted and windswept, falling in loose waves over a threadbare woolen shawl that did little against the biting frost. Tucked against her chest was a toddler no more than 2, his chubby cheeks rosy from the cold, clad in a mismatched set of pajamas, layered under a too small parka. The boy's head lolled sleepily on her shoulder, his tiny thumb wedged in his mouth, while she hummed a fractured lullaby, her breath forming fragile clouds that vanished into the night. The way she enveloped him was unyielding, her body a living shield, one arm curved protectively around his back, the other stroking his hair in rhythmic, soothing passes. Alexander drew in a measured breath, already pivoting to lead Emma onward. "It's getting late, Button. Let's head home." But Emma planted her feet, her eyes wide and unblinking. "He's shivering, Papa." And she's singing to him like Mommy used to sing to me. Her words hung in the frosty air, piercing the careful armor Alexander had forged since his wife's accident 2 years prior. He had risen to the pinnacle of his industry with algorithms and innovations that powered half the city's smart grids, but personal vulnerabilities, those he had sealed away, delegating compassion to charities and foundations, keeping his world and Emma's neatly contained. Still, Emma's plea echoed raw and unfiltered as the woman adjusted her shawl, the toddler letting out a soft whimper that cut through the quiet like a shard of ice. Alexander knelt to Emma's level, his gloved fingers gently unfastening the knit muffler from her neck. "Hold still for me," he asked. She nodded, trusting as he rose and crossed the snow-slicked street, his polished shoes leaving precise tracks in the powder. The woman's song faltered as he approached, her lashes lifting to reveal hazel eyes, shadowed by fatigue, but sharp with wariness. They weren't the eyes of defeat. They burned with a quiet resolve, the kind that had stared down storms and come out scarred but standing. He crouched beside the ledge, carefully draping the muffler over the boy's lap. "Miss," he said, his tone even laced with the quiet command that closed deals in shadowed conference rooms. "You both need to get out of this cold. It's not safe here." She blinked, pulling the toddler, a boy named Noah, though she hadn't said it yet, closer, her chin lifting in subtle defiance. "We're managing," she replied, her voice hoarse but steady-edged with the scrape of swallowed pride. "We always do." Alexander held her stare, the wind whipping flakes against his cheeks. His glance dipped to Noah, whose small chest rose and fell in uneven hitches, and something in his chest tightened, unbidden. He rose slowly, the city's relentless pulse fading behind the plaza's seclusion. Deadlines loomed, prototype launches, investor calls, but they felt distant, insignificant against the fragile tableau before him. He had amassed fortunes in code and capital penthouses, with views that spanned horizons, yet the void left by his wife's laughter had never been patched, only papered over with routines and Emma's bedtime stories. The woman before him was a study in quiet endurance, her shawl frayed at the edges, boots scuffed and caked with old mud, yet her posture held a grace that spoke of battles fought in silence. "I'm Alexander," he said, extending a hand, not in demand, but in invitation. "And you?" Her lips pressed thin. "Sophia, this is Noah." She shifted him higher, as if to remind the world and herself that he was her anchor, her reason. "You can't stay out here with him in this freeze." Alexander pressed gently. "My place is close. A warm meal, a bed for the night no more." Sophia's eyes narrowed, scanning him from coat to cufflinks, reading the unspoken wealth. "I don't take handouts." She said the words, a wall thrown up swift and high. He knew that barrier. It was the echo of his own guarded heart, the reflex of those who'd learned trust was a luxury often revoked. A gust howled through the plaza, rattling bare branches, and Noah coughed, a wet rattling sound that twisted the air. Before Sophia could react, Alexander leaned in his arms, sliding beneath the boy, with the instinctive care of a man who'd once cradled a newborn through fevered nights. Noah was warm against him, deceptively solid for his size, his lashes fluttering as Alexander supported his back. Sophia surged to her feet, hands outstretched. "He's mine," she whispered fiercely, not pleading, but claiming. Alexander didn't flinch. "And he's cold." He countered his voice, low eyes, meeting hers with unflinching honesty. In that gaze, she saw not pity, but recognition, the steady hold of someone who'd lost and rebuilt, who knew the terror of fragility. Her fingers hovered, then dropped a fraction, the fight easing from her frame. He took a tentative step back toward the street, Noah secure in his grasp. "Just tonight," he added. "Let me get you both safe." Sophia exhaled, the vapor curling like a reluctant flag of truce. One night she agreed to the concession tasting of salt and steel. As they crossed to the SUV, she walked with her head high, reclaiming Noah's weight against her when the door closed. Alexander respected the boundary, silent, as the driver navigated slushy avenues. In that quiet, he glimpsed her, not as a fleeting rescue, but a sentinel scarred by tempests, yet unbowed, guarding her charge with a ferocity that mirrored his own, for Emma. The private elevator hummed upward, depositing them into a vast expanse of glass and steel, where the city's lights twinkled like captive stars beyond floor-to-ceiling panes. Emma scampered ahead, shedding her coat in a trail of mittens and glee. "This is the playroom, and that's where we make hot cocoa with extra marshmallows," she announced, her voice echoing off sleek walls of teak and chrome. Sophia hesitated at the threshold. Noah's warmth, her only anchor amid the opulence. The vast leather sofas, the abstract sculptures glinting under recessed lights. The kitchen island vast as a conference table. She edged back a step. "This isn't us," she murmured, her free hand twisting the shawl's fringe. "We can't impose like this." Alexander's reply was steady, unadorned. "It's shelter from the storm, nothing more." "Come in, you're letting the cold in." Even as she crossed the polished threshold, Sophia clung to the periphery, her gaze tracing every surface, as if measuring escape routes. Over the hour that followed, she moved like a shadow on a mission. Straightening scattered cushions, wiping condensation from a window with her sleeve, and unbidden gathering Emma's crayon stubs from the rug into a neat pile. When Alexander found her in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, as she carefully hand-washed a mug, he paused. "You don't need to earn your space here. I pay for what I take," she said, eyes on the suds, her tone a quiet creed etched by necessity. He observed the way these rituals steadied her, then like threads woven to mend a fraying net, holding obligation at bay while accepting grace. The following dawn, as snow tapered to flurries, the family's longtime aide, Clara, a woman of iron-gray bun and sharper intuition, drew Alexander aside in the sunlit breakfast nook. Her whisper was laced with caution. "Sir, I respect your heart, but tread carefully. Strangers have ways of weaving into lives they don't belong in." Alexander's brow furrowed. "She's a mother at the end of her rope, Clara. That's all." Clara's arms crossed, unyielding. "Ends of ropes can tangle fortunes. I've seen eyes like hers before, calculating even in the quiet." In rounding the corner with a stack of linens for the guest room, Sophia caught the exchange's tail. The words landed like sleet, chilling her to the core. That afternoon, while Alexander reviewed blueprints in his home office, she gathered Noah's few belongings, a crumpled toy truck, a spare onesie folded tight. She eased a knit cap over his curls, mindful of his dozing size, and slung her threadbare satchel over one shoulder. Her palm pressed the front door's latch when a soft patter halted her. Sophia Emma stood in the hall, clad in footy pajamas, dotted with stars, her stuffed fox dangling by one ear. The girl closed the distance in a rush, latching onto Sophia's legs with desperate strength. "Please stay," Emma pleaded, her voice a quaver. "Papa gets sad when people leave. Noah needs a brother to play with trucks." Sophia's throat tightened, the bag slipping from her shoulder. She knelt, balancing Noah's weight as she cupped Emma's cheek. "Sweetheart." Emma's eyes shimmered. "Mama always said, 'Open doors let light in.' She'd want you here, drawing pictures and making snowmen with us." From the shadowed archway, Alexander watched unseen, at first the raw plea in Emma's grip, stirring ghosts of his wife's voice, murmuring that phrase over morning coffee on a long-ago snowfall. Sophia rose, turning to face him, her expression a fortress cracked, but holding. "I overheard Clara. I won't be the crack in your world." Alexander advanced, his presence filling the space without crowding it. "You wouldn't be walking out into a blizzard for pride's sake if you meant harm." The air thawed incrementally. He held her gaze resolute. "Stay. Prove her wrong. Prove the cold wrong." In that suspended breath, he saw her anew, not a waif in need, but a warrior who'd brave the freeze over compromise. It was that steel that anchored her place. Sunlight filtered through half-drawn blinds one crisp morning, casting warm pools across the living room floor. Sophia knelt amid a scatter of journals, her fingers tracing melodies on an old acoustic guitar, borrowed from Emma's playroom corner, a relic from holidays past. Emma sprawled nearby, legs kicking air as she strummed an imaginary bass, her hums off-key, but earnest. "Play the one about the dancing bears again," she urged, eyes alight. Sophia's laugh was soft, tentative, as she obliged the chords, weaving a whimsical tale her father had once spun for her on stormy eves. When the last note faded, Emma clapped, then tilted her head. "You make music like magic. Did Noah like it when he was little?" "Little?" Sophia's fingers stilled on the strings, a shadow crossing her face. "He dances now, see?" She scooped Noah from his playmat, where he'd been stacking blocks with wobbly determination. The boy giggled, swaying to the echo of the tune, his tiny feet pattering against her thigh. Alexander, pausing in the doorway with a tablet in hand, felt the scene pull at him. The easy harmony, the way Sophia's song seemed to chase shadows from the room. He remarked that you play like you've got stories in every string, setting the device aside. Sophia glanced up, a flush warming her cheeks. Music's how I remember the good parts. Keeps the rest quiet. He nodded, the guitar's resonance lingering, like the melody she'd unwittingly struck in his guarded routine. Days later, Alexander faced a pivotal industry summit, a glittering affair of venture capitalists and innovators, where alliances were forged over single malt and subtle power plays. He extended an unexpected olive branch to evade the parade of ambitious executives, eyeing his single status as a merger opportunity. Join me, your music might cut through the noise better than my pitches. The venue was a converted warehouse-turned-venue, all exposed brick and pulsing bass from a live band, the air humming with the clatter of networking and the tang of artisanal cocktails. Sophia arrived in a simple black sheath, altered from Clara's wardrobe, its lines falling gracefully over her frame, a silver chain at her neck, catching the strobing lights. The first stretch flowed seamlessly. Alexander navigated clusters of suits with practiced ease, presenting her as a talent redefining soundscapes. But near the demo stations, where prototypes beeped and holographic displays flickered, a sleek woman in a crimson pantsuit glided in partner to one of Alexander's key backers, her smile a blade sheathed in silk. Ah, the intriguing companion, she purred, her scan of Sophia clinical appraising. How fortuitous falling into such elevated circles. One might wonder at the timing. Sophia's spine aligned, her chin angling with quiet steel. The woman's lips curved sharply. Talent's a fine prop, but some rise faster by melody than merit, don't they? Alexander tensed, ready to intercede, but Sophia pivoted smoothly, her voice a melody laced with frost. Comfort's fleeting, character endures. She glided toward the exit, her steps unhurried, the click of her heels, a retreating refrain. Alexander caught her in the alley beyond, where snow had begun to swirl anew, dusting her hair like powdered sugar. Sophia, he called, unbuttoning his overcoat as he closed the gap. She halted under a buzzing neon sign, flakes melting on her lashes. The alley's glow etched her silhouette, the chill drawing faint lines of strain across her brow. I won't be the evening's footnote, she said, her tone even threaded with resolve. He enveloped her in the coat's warmth, the wool dwarfing her like a cloak of quiet armor. You outshone them all, not as arm candy, but as you. And that's no footnote. That's the score. She searched his face, the snow veiling them in intimacy, and for a heartbeat, the world's clamor dissolved. She drew the collar closer, nodding once, the gesture sealing an unspoken verse. Early evening light slanted through bare trees along a residential lane, where Sophia pushed Noah's stroller past shuttered storefronts, the wheels crunching over salt-strewn paths. The air hummed with the low chime of a distant bell tower, and she paused at a crosswalk, lost in thought. A figure emerged from a quaint bookstore. Across the way, a woman in a camel coat, silver-streaked hair coiled elegantly, her posture impeccable. The resemblance struck like a dissonant chord, the same high cheekbones, the hazel eyes, now hardened by years. Sophia's breath snagged. Mom. The word escaped fragile as a half-forgotten lyric. The woman turned her gaze, traversing Sophia's form, before settling on the stroller with clinical detachment. Silence stretched taut as a snapped string. That her mother said at last, gesturing curtly at Noah, is a detour. This lineage won't indulge. Sophia's pulse thundered. He's your blood, your grandson. The reply sliced clean, blood diluted by choices. Erase it from your score, Sophia. Start anew. With that, she pivoted, the bookstore's chimes tolling her departure, leaving a wake of musty pages and unresolved refrains. Sophia remained frozen, the stroller's handle biting into her palms, a fracture spiderwebbing through her chest. No flood of tears came. Instead, a hollow resolve settled. She reversed course the trek home, a dirge of measured strides, Noah's contented gurgles, her sole counterpoint. By twilight, as the penthouse glowed against the deepening dusk, she eased inside, shrugging off the chill with her coat. Emma perched on a poof in the den, cradling one of Sophia's notebooks, its pages alive with scribbled lyrics and doodled keys. The girl's face beamed. Sophia. I peeked. It's like a songbook for us. Sophia approached, peering over her shoulder. The page bloomed with ink, a quartet sketched in harmony. Alexander at a piano. Emma banging joyful discord on drums. Noah clapping along, and Sophia at center stage, voice soaring. In the illustration, their faces are wreathed in stage lights, and sound bonds weave them tight. This is us, Emma declared, conviction ringing clear. Our band forever jamming. The dam Sophia had shored cracked wide. She dropped to the rug, drawing Emma into a fierce hold, while Noah nestled against her side. The tears arrived in a cascade, unbidden and cathartic sobs that shook her frame like a crescendo unresolved. Noah blinked awake, his gummy grin oblivious to the storm, reaching a pudgy hand to pat her cheek. Emma's brow puckered, her tiny palm swiping at the damp trails. Hey, no sad notes. Your songs are happiest when you're smiling big. Sophia's laugh broke through ragged and real, binding them closer in the circle of her arms. She sensed Alexander before she saw him, his shadow lengthening from the hall. He knelt fluidly, his palm enveloping hers, where it cradled Noah's back, the touch a baseline of steadiness. You've composed solos long enough, he murmured, his timbre low, resonant. Let the chorus carry you now. Sophia met his eyes, truly beheld him, not the titan of circuits and startups who'd scooped them from the snow, but a partner in the quiet measures, who'd shouldered silences as weighty as her own. For the first time, the melody felt shared, no longer a lone voice adrift. Flurries tapped insistently at the panes from pre-dawn, a relentless percussion against the skyline. Sophia had risen early, strumming idly, while Noah slumbered in his crib, but unease crept in with the light. His skin burned under her touch, his whimpers ragged body, slack and fever-hot. Noah, baby, she breathed, gathering him close, the heat searing through her shirt like accusation. Panic clawed. She dialed Alexander without pause. He picked up mid-sentence, the undercurrent of a strategy session threading the line. He's not right. Fever's spiking. He's so listless. Her words tumbled, edged with fracture. I'm coming, he said. There are no qualifiers, and the call is ending on his footfalls. Alexander's phone had vibrated once in a sunlit boardroom downtown, amid projections and fervent pitches for a quantum leap in AI. He rose, mid-debate chair scraping, and strode out, leaving stunned silence and a deal dangling. The penthouse door flew open to chaos, containing Sophia in the foyer, Noah swaddling tight, and his cries muffled mules. Alexander shed his coat in one motion, enveloping them, then herded her to the garage lift. The ride to the clinic blurred in wipers swish and sodium glow, his knuckles white on the wheel. Glances rearward. Constant Sophia murmuring lullabies fractured by fear, Noah's heat radiating. The pediatric ward hummed with beeps and hurried scrubs, the sanitizer scent, sharp as regret. A pediatrician swept in, whisking Noah to an exam bay, Sophia trailing on numb legs, recounting symptoms in a voice frayed thin. Alexander shadowed a sentinel at the curtain's edge, yielding space, but never sight. As the IV pierced Noah's vein, Sophia averted her gaze, a gasp escaping. Alexander's hand found her shoulder, anchoring, while his other clasped Noah's tiny fist thumb, stroking in paternal rhythm, infusing calm like a steady downbeat. Vigil stretched into hours, Sophia orbiting the bed, querying vitals, dabbing cool cloths, her exhaustion a creeping fog. At last it claimed her. She slumped into a vinyl chair, head lolling. Alexander regarded her in the sterile gleam. The lines of her face softened to vulnerability. He fetched a threadbare blanket, tucking it around her with reverence, then ghosted a knuckle along her temple, sweeping away a fallen lock. "Rest easy," he whispered the vow for her as much as the boy. "The rhythm holds." Sophia stirred later to muted tones and easing storm. Noah's color returned breaths, even in repose. Alexander remained elbows on knees, a lukewarm latte forgotten beside him. She traced his vigil, the abrupt exodus from Empire's helm, the storm-defying drive, the unwavering post. A pivot turned within her, irrevocable. This was no obligatory overture, but a symphony's heart, a man who'd harmonize with her chaos, claim her son as chord in his own. Recovery wove new patterns into their days. Sophia is immersed in melodies, transcribing fragments into full compositions, and Noah's coups are her muse. Yet Alexander caught her drift toward the window notes unfinished, as if verses beckoned beyond these walls. As dishes hummed in the sink's cycle one twilight, she voiced it softly. "I need gigs, real ones. Can't lean on this chorus indefinitely. For Noah, for my tune." He braced against the island, appraising. "You're already the backbone of our set." She demurred. "That's harmony. I crave the solo spotlight again." He conceded with a tilt, filing the refrain. Days on amid audition reels to jazz dens and open mics, he proposed an outing. Something off script. It could inspire a bridge. They arrived at a restored theater in the Arts District, its marquee aglow, Sophia Hale, intimate debut, strings of resilience. Her pulse stuttered as they entered the lobby, abuzz with patrons, the stage framed by velvet drapes and spotlit mics. Her name graced the program, and her covertly submitted demos adorned the walls with framed sheet music. She whirled to him breathless. "Alexander, this. It's yours," he affirmed, gaze alight. "I acquired the space. Tonight you headline, let the city hear your voice." Her fingers pressed to her lips, wonder dawning. "But why?" "Because your songs deserve spotlights, and you deserve to know you're the headliner." As the house lights dimmed, the MC took the stage mic in hand. Alexander ascended briefly, his timbre cutting the hush. "Welcome to a venue reborn for raw anthems that echo our unseen battles. Tonight honors a voice that turns scars to symphonies, solitude to shared refrains." He pivoted to Sophia, spotlit beside him. "This is Sophia, the composer, who reminded me that music isn't just notes, it's nerve." The crowd stilled breaths, collective eyes converging. Exposure prickled whispers of benches and blizzards, judgments of unworthiness. But Alexander's regard was an anchor, proud and unyielding. He framed her not as a discovered treasure, but as a sovereign artist, forged in fire, her timbre timeless. Tears traced silent paths unchecked. She owned them, the applause rising like a swell, enveloping her in ovation's embrace. Alexander stood sentinel, their hands brushing in the thunder, a bridge to encores untold. Dusk's hush settled over the estate's solarium, where bifold doors yawned to a snow-draped terrace, lanterns strung like fireflies against the gloaming. A low table bore journals pens, and a lone guitar, the air laced with pine from a crackling hearth. Emma lounged on cushions, scribbling lyrics with fervent scrawls, her tongue tipped in focus. Noah toddled nearby, banging a wooden spoon on a pot, like makeshift percussion, and his babble was a joyful cacophony. Alexander sat cross-legged, plucking tentative strings. His tailored slacks rumpled a streak of ink, smudging his cuff, a mark Sophia eyed with fond amusement. They created a companionable quiet, the city's murmur, a distant bass which was airy in their private jam. Emma shattered the hush, pensive. Papa Alexander's fingers paused. Yeah, star. She surveyed them. Alexander, Sophia. Noah. Her expression solemn. Are we a band now? Like the kind that sticks? The query suspended a held breath. Sophia's pen hovered, pulse quickening. She flicked to Alexander, adrift in the unknown. He laid the guitar aside, circling behind his arms, encircling the trio, in a vast inclusive hold. Sophia, Emma, Noah woven tight. His words resonated, profound and definitive, the unbreakable kind. Our finale's wide open. Sophia felt the declaration root a coda etched eternal. She angled toward him over Emma's crown, their eyes locking his assurance a melody matched. Her hand sought his, interlacing the guitar's hum, fading to heartbeats aligned. Lantern light gilded Sophia's hair, threading it with amber, as Emma burrowed closer. Noah's warmth, a bass pulse in her hold, Alexander's grasp, a steadfast treble. 4 souls, once soloed by sorrow and strife, now orchestrated in unity, bound not by chance's fleeting chord, but choice's enduring score. Overhead, the firmament wheeled vast, and for the first time in seasons, Sophia trusted the encore would play on. And thus, in that twilight sanctuary, aglow with hearthfire and harmony, 4 paths, scattered by silence and survival, converged in an unbreakable ensemble. Love hadn't crashed in with fanfare or flawless keys. It had bloomed in the bridges, the bold improvisations, the decision to harmonize when discord tempted to fade. If this tale strummed your strings, picture the symphonies yet to unfold. Subscribe to Harmony Hearts for more anthems of grit, grace, and bonds that outlast the silence, because every note of kindness composes the most excellent opus.